Oh, hey everybody! Woo! Welcome to Festool Live. This is our first time doing it. We are practicing safe habits here in the training center. Let me show you a few. Look, we got some hand sanitizer. I, Derek, and Chris, we just washed our hands. Check this out, I made one of these. This is my 6-foot pole. See that? We're 6 feet apart. Some of us are wearing masks as well. We at Festool truly hope you are all safe and staying happy in your homes. We just wanted to bring this to you. We're going to do a lot more in the future. We're going to do this, and you see we're doing this on Instagram Live. Be patient with us. We have limited cameras, technology, and we're limited on a few extra people we might need to run a switcher here and there. So we call this kind of like, what'd you say yesterday, Derek? Guerrilla live feed. Just bear with us. So the way it's going to work is we're going to do a little introduction. We have Derek Clements, Chris Seibert, and our producer is Philip Stranad. Hey Philip, I know you're at home watching. I wanted to call you out because thanks for organizing this with us. What's going to happen today is I'm going to do a domino briefer. In other words, I'm going to go over the top four rules of the Domino Joiner DF500. They transferred to the XL. We'll have a little question and answers segment afterwards, and then we'll go into a wrap-up. Okay, and I'm going to try not to touch my face. All right, let's see what we've got here. I'm just checking my notes to see if I said everything I was supposed to. This is Instagram Live. I think I mentioned this, but we're going to repost this on Monday on Facebook. We're going to post it on YouTube and Twitter. All right, so let's get going. So when we talk about the domino, I'd like to just define a few parts of the Domino 500. This part right here, see how it has a slight arc? That's called the plate. This part right here is the base. There's references off of all of these. And we set the height of the plate. And this goes to rule number 1. It doesn't matter if it's a domino, a dowel, or a biscuit. It doesn't have to be exactly in the center of the board as long as you reference the same face with the domino joiner. I always make a mark right here. Sometimes I'll label it DF for domino face. All right, and I'll actually put an arrow which way I'm going to carry the machine. But I also want to point this out. When I do this, I always want to make sure I'm working off of the table. Okay, that's rule number 2. And I'm going to repeat these as we go and as I actually do the joint. All right, we're not going to put 2 boards together like this. I'd rather do what one of our most common questions has been, is how do I get a flush butt joint on a, say I'm putting a cabinet together. I'm putting a bottom to a side or a top to a side. And I'll show you how to label that as well. All right, so as I go through this, I'm going to set the height of the plate. I release this lever right here. And if we look right here, I'm going to be using 3/4 material. In our round, 3/4 is 20 millimeter. And right here, when I set this gauge block, we call it the thickness gauge block, what appears in that window is what? The thickness of the material. And then I'm going to lock it down. I always do this to verify that this is at 90. Okay, we're going to use a 5x30 domino. Okay, so if we look right here, okay, half of 30 is what? 15. So I'm going to pull this blue tab forward here and set this at 15. My machine is basically set up. But I want to put one more item on here. This is called a support bracket. And whenever I put anything on the machine, you see these 2 holes right here? See how they're tapped? Okay, I'm going to take the support bracket and thread this on. I'm going to be using this vertical to do this flush joint for a cabinet side to bottom. All right, so I am going to be plunging vertical. This gives me, when I'm plunging vertical, gives me more room to work. So I'm going to get these boards off, okay? And I'm going to label this. Okay, so here's my edge banding. This is my side. This is the inside of my side, and this is my bottom. Okay, so I'm going to turn this up. The bottoms and tops always go between the sides. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do a simple labeling, okay? I'm just going to make a mark here. See this? I already did it, but I'll do it again. I'll highlight it. See how I made a mark? That's where I'm going to lay my plate here, and when I'm plunging vertically, I'm going to lay my plate here. Now, I will also do this. I will label for me DF for domino face and DF for domino face. That's where I'm going to lay my plate. All right. Rule number 1, always label your material and work off consecutive faces with your plate. Rule number 2 is work above the plane of the table. So say I was doing this piece right here. Okay, this is where I'm going to lay my plate. Okay, if I did this like this, and I set it up, and I did it just like this, okay, and I didn't have my bracket on there, and I laid this on here, I would be referencing the base. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my Vaxis, real simple, and I'm going to put it on here like this. You see how I'm working off the table? My base doesn't touch it whatsoever. So I'm going to hook up my domino. Okay, and always remember, when you're using a domino, you must use dust extraction, because that prolongs the life of the bit. Make sure everything's running, okay? Now, when I do this, I'm just going to make it really easy today. I'm going to reference these 2 flaps right here. From the side of the flap to the center is 37 millimeters. I'm just doing this for this demonstration. So I'm going to take that. You see how I pivoted in? Rule number 3, work and plunge in line. This is basically the only pressure I put on there. And you see how I plunge from the back of the machine? Okay? I'm going to come over here and do this one as well, using that flap as reference. Okay. Now, I'm going to release this. I'm going to get my dominoes in here. Okay. And I did them tight, so you'll see. There's no movement from side to side. Okay, I'll just put these in here like this. Okay, good. Now, with this one, this is my side, okay, and the inside. I'm going to plunge like this. And actually, so you can see this, and I've done this before, training people, I've actually put marks right here. You won't see these, but this is actually, you can see right here, that's where my dominoes are going to be. I always tell people, when you're using a domino, if you feel comfortable, mark the heck out of your boards. That way there, you won't make the mistake. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on, and I know this is my front. Look, here, let me stop so you guys see all of this. And I'll give you another great tip. Okay, this is my front edge. I'm going to keep this. See how I have this one tight? I did build these tight. Okay, I could have done this one loose with this setting right here, but I'm going to do this one loose. Okay, I do it tight because I want this to be flush here and come together flush here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that flap and look where I'm holding it. Hopefully you guys can all see this. See how I'm putting pressure here? I'm not holding it here. I'm putting pressure because this is where my plate is. And here's a great tip. I used to turn the machine on like this, but it would plunge in here. But Greg Kalani once showed me this. He said, why don't you just do this? Hold it here and pinch this on. That way there it doesn't plunge. I thought that was a great tip. So there we go. I'm going to plunge vertically now like this. And then while the machine is running, I'm going to switch in here and do this one loose. So you can all see that. That way there. And I'm plunging in line. So when I take that, I'm just going to hang that up. Okay, those 3, and you're going to notice the 4th rule is this. Always plunge at a steady rate. And when I tell you that, if you hear too much chatter, your climb cutting the bit, and you'll lose a lot of glue line and shear strength of domino. Here's what I'll show you. I did a sample of this. See this right here? Here's two examples. I used the 6x40. See this right here? Look. See that? I plunged at a steady rate on this. You see this one here? Listen. Okay? I plunged too quick. I had a lot of chatter. So that's why you plunge at a steady rate. And if you're getting that, that's your situation. So now, I'm going to take these two boards with alignment. I'm going to bring that right in like this. And you'll see how flush that is? And I'm going to turn this around so you can all see it. See how that front edge banded edge just aligns perfectly? That's how you get a flush butt joint for bottom to or top to a cabinet side. And I'm going to repeat the 4 rules. 1, always work it off the proper reference face. Sorry. Number 2, work above the plane of the table. 3, always plunge in line. I like to plunge from the back of the machine, making sure that plate is flat. And number 4, plunge at a steady rate. That way there you don't get any climb cutting, and when you hear chatter, slow down. Okay, so that's a basic overview. Those 4 tips that we've given in training have been probably the top epiphany or aha moment that we've had. So, what I'm going to do now is, I don't know how many people out there are watching, but do we have any questions that we can ask about the domino joiner? We want to keep it, because in maybe next week or the week after, we have a timeline of different topics that we're going to cover. If you have a topic that you want to cover, I believe that's #Festool Live. We want to do these every Friday at noon. It is Festool Friday. Does anybody have any questions, guys? Any questions coming in?
One says, draw a line to the center of the board and line it up.
Okay, yeah, let me show you. Maybe you're asking this. I want to join 2 pieces of wood together. Let's see if this is what you're asking. Just like this, look. You're asking, like using it like a biscuit joiner maybe? I want to do this and draw a line like that. Is that the question? Join it like this? Or is it, do you want to see me do a shelf joint like this?
We're also getting our questions for 90-degree angles and 45-degree angles and kilometers. So yeah, let's go with this.
Okay, so this is what we call this a shelf joint. It's pretty easy. What I'm going to do is I'll keep it wicked simple. I'm gonna do a little bit of labeling. Always label your pieces, okay? Okay, so this is my shelf. Okay, instead of setting up like a dado stack in a table saw, we put things together with the domino. So this is my shelf, and I always do this, top. Okay, and then I'll do something like this. This is where I want, this is the top of my shelf. Okay, if I want to get fancy here, I'll take a square. Okay, and this is pretty simple. I'm gonna turn off my back because I'm gonna do this right here so you can all see it. And then I'm just gonna take a couple of clamps. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna set up my clamps just like this. Now let's look at this, everybody. Okay, I'll get a little bit of a sport. This is the top of my shelf. This is how I always remember things. I take the top and I put the top to the top like this. And if we can get this, cameraman, and you can come in here, see how that's laid out just like this? See my line right here? I bring it into my clamp. I always kind of try to clamp it close, just like this. I'm going to take another clamp, bring it in. Using the clamps, always remember, you get a little bit of play in here. I would put my finger back here, like this, just to engage it. And now I can get proper registration of that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to reference the plate anymore. Let me take the power off. Okay, I'm going to reference the base. And the base, from the bottom here to the center of the bit, is 10 millimeters. Remember I told you this is 20 millimeter, 3/4? If you check this out, see the base? Let me get a better reference so you guys can all see this. See these little milled flats on there? Hopefully you can see this with the cameras. That is the center line of my bit. And if I measure from here to here, let me see if I can grab a tape, you'll see it's 10 millimeters. See that? So if I know from the base to the center, you see how I set this up, I'm just gonna put some power to it. It works better with electricity. This isn't cordless. All right, I'm gonna do them tight. And you're gonna see right here, see how I'm using the flap as my reference? Okay, I'm gonna plunge there. I'm gonna plunge here. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it around and work it vertical. So I'm gonna take that, I'm referencing my flap. Take it like this, and then take it like this. Okay, set it down. Woo! And then take your dominoes. And that's my top line, right? And just bring it in. And that's how you put a board into the middle of the board, just like this. And there's my line, absolutely perfect. So hopefully that answered your question.
We had a lot of people interested in that shelf joint. And that's the same on the 700?
Same on the 700. The 700 is different. The distance, and I'm going to sneak over here really quick to grab a 700. The distance on the 700 from the bottom, if we can come in here, look. From the bottom or the base to the center is 15 millimeters, and there's your center line. So you just got to do the measurement, 15 millimeters. It's easy. What else, guys? Woohoo!
We're looking at
We have 150 people right now watching, which is
17 minutes so far.
17 minutes so far? Wow. Boy, time flew when you're having fun. Any other questions? Let me just mention this. There's going to be a time on Festool Live where we're going to do a presentation on the domino, whether XL or both 500 and 700, where we can do connectors. I kind of want to do that, and we'll have all kinds of samples for that. We're going to do one on routers, choosing the right router, choosing the right dust extractor, stuff like that. So it'll be fun. I know most of you are stuck at home or working from home, and we just want you to be healthy and stay safe. And don't forget to wash your hands! And don't touch your face!
We did get a question about picking domino sizes.
Oh, okay.
How do we do that?
All right. Boy, that was one of my top posts on Instagram at one time. Rule of thumb in woodworking is the third, and the third rule. Okay? And when I say that, let me just draw it out really quick. Third, and a third, and I am so bad at this, but here, say I'm doing a mortise here, right? Let's just do a mortise. And we call these on the side shoulders. So if you take your board and divide it by 3. So if I look at this plywood and I say, hey, this is 18 millimeter, divide 18 by 3, and what do you get? 6, right? Okay, so when I use hardwoods, and a lot of the times I say I'm doing a 5-piece mitered door, okay, I use a 6x40 because I want a lot of glue line. But whenever I use plywood, because I'm lazy, I use a 5x30. And it has to do with depth setting and you remembering. Bear with me, hopefully this comes across correct. So I'm gonna put this back together, this butt joint. And you notice I used a 5x30, let me get that in there, okay? If I use the 6x40, okay, to do this, remember this is 18 millimeter, really, okay? And I went 20 and 20, I would have a through mortise. Follow me on that? So what I use is a 5x30 because I can go 15 and 15. Now someone will contradict me and that's fine. Oh, that's why we have different settings. I can do this side at 12 and then do these. I want to use a 6x40 and then do this side at 28 and offset them. But here's where I always tell it, for me, I tell everybody I use a 5x30 when I'm doing plywood in the especially cabinetry, because I've done and I've tried 6x40, and I'll tell you what happened. You see the 12? I did a bunch of 12s and then I went to the 28s and I had to go back and do another piece, and my pea brain didn't remember to reset this. With this, the 5x30, and if I set it at 15, I never have to reset my depth. It just keeps it easy. Cool? That was another question. By the way, that's a very common question. What size domino do I need?
And then the other question we received, how do you choose between the 500 and the 700?
Wow, what a great question. You need both. I'm just kidding. If somebody asks me that, say I'm at a trade show or a demo day somewhere, I'll look at them and I'll say, what exactly are you going to use it for the majority of the time? Now, I usually travel with this. Guys, I'm just going to wing over here, get out of frame, and come right back at you. But I always look at it like this. Okay? It's not, yes, we have thicker dominoes. Okay? Yes, we have longer dominoes when it comes in. That's the key. It's the long grain to long grain adhesion on a longer domino. If you're doing bigger stuff, you need longer dominoes. That is the basic or simplest answer I give people. Someone says, hey, I'm doing interior doors, Domino 700 XL. Someone says, I'm doing a lot of cabinetry, Domino 500. You're doing a lot of 3/4 material. Here's a perfect example. Apron skirt, table leg. This is the longest domino I can put in with a 500. Okay? I think that's a 10 by 50. Here's an 8 by 100. Someone will say, oh, I could put 2 of those. No, there's not enough long grain to long grain adhesion with those small ones. It's not that your joint's destined for failure, but it could. When you have a Domino 700 for this joint, that's never ever coming apart because you have all that long grain. So hopefully I came across clearly on that, but it all depends on what length of tenon you need. Okay? So a lot of people start out with a 500 and are so happy with it, and guess what they do? They come back and get a 700. Okay, because they want to build an interior door for the house or the barn or whatever. Okay? Cool. Anything else?
Another one we had is, how do you determine how many dominoes to use for a sheet? Like say if you have a 6-foot piece or a 4-foot piece or...
Oh, that's I would say that's personal preference. It depends on how warped your boards are. If you're putting 2 wood boards together that are perfectly flat, probably don't need much domino in there because it's long grain to long grain adhesion. But if you have a lot of warping in there, it's personal preference. It's what you're used to as a woodworker. I mean, I used to tell people, put one every 1.5 inches. That way there, you can buy more dominoes. I'm just kidding. Okay? There's no true rule of thumb. It's what your preference is. Hopefully I wasn't too facetious on that.
And then let's see, we got one last question here about the different connector sets. Can you go over kind of the different connectors?
Whew. Okay, that's a toughie. I want to do a whole new Festool Live on that, but here's what I'll tell you. Let's just go with the 500 set. I have this cabinet here. When you look at something like this and you open it up, oh my God, look how confusing it gets. Okay, it's really simple. It's only 4 connectors you'll see here. When it comes to the 700, I'll pop it out here. Look, I'll pop up a 700 set. There's only 2 connectors in here. Okay, there's one with a 700 that's a right angle. Okay, and there's one that we call inline. All right, to connect like countertops or big handrails. Now, for the 500, you have 4 connectors, and it's really simple. Okay, this is the one that I used here with this anchor. Okay, I call it a wedge anchor, and as I turn it, it opens up. Okay, this may seem like a confusing, very involved system, but this is the best system inside the system that we've ever developed, in my eyes. And the reason I'm telling you this is this will take a nice Festool Live to go through it with you, but once you understand the basics, it's easy. Okay, everything's included in the kit to get going. So just a quick overview. There's a right angle for doing a butt joint, the one we just did. You drill the access hole here for this, what we call a cross anchor, with a drilling jig. We include the bit. Right? Now, if I already have existing 32 millimeter holes, you know, for shelves and everything, okay, I don't need the wedge anchor. I can use this threaded spindle and utilize those. See that? I can utilize those 5 millimeter holes. It's a coarse thread 5 millimeter. It's pretty simple. Okay? Easy enough. Those two. And then if I have a center panel here, okay, one uses an 8 millimeter domino with 2 cross anchors, same drilling jig, same everything, but it's an 8 millimeter mortise all the way through. But if somebody has those 32 millimeter systems, look, you can put 2 cross anchors, and I have one in here, okay? And when I tighten this all the way down, I thread it through this, because that's a through hole. Your center panel is always, or should be always, a through hole. And as I do that, that's exactly 18 millimeter all the way through. And I just build another shelf or top or bottom. I'm hoping that helps. But we'll do another Festool Live on the connector systems in probably the near future, because we've already got somebody interested in them. Excellent.
26 minutes.
Okay, so we should do a wrap up. Okay. We want to thank you, Derek, and also Chris, Philip, how are you? Hope you're doing well today. I also want to thank all our management here at Festool. They are behind us on this Festool Live. In the future, hashtag Festool Live with ideas. You're going to see this across, again, multiple platforms. We love doing this. I'm just trying to think if I have, I'm going to look at my notes really quick. I think I mentioned everything I need to mention. Did I say thank you to all of you for watching? And next Friday at noon, we'll be back with Festool Live. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.